Hey ladies, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the second episode of Single Mother News with my views. Okay, let's get on with our first story today. A single mother paid an actor to pose as her daughter's father for 10 years. No, I'm not joking, this actually really happened. This article, which I found on myjoyonline.com, reads, "In an effort to spare her young daughter from being ostracized by other children for not having a father, a Japanese single mother made the controversial decision to hire an actor who has been posing as the girl's father for the last 10 years. Her mother soon learned that she wasn't just blaming herself for her father's absence, but she had also become a victim of bullying at school, as it often happens with children of single parents in Japan. Asako was heartbroken, and after appealing to Megumi's teachers for help, she also decided to give her daughter the thing she wanted most, even if it meant lying to her. Asako had heard about people rental agencies that could send actors to play fake relatives, wedding guests, and even romantic partners for a fee. So she started flirting with the idea of renting someone to pose as Megumi's estranged father. She auditioned 5 candidates and settled on Mr. Takashi, who she found to be easy to talk to and kind. He ran his own rental agency with a staff of around 20 and about 1,000 freelancers able to take on whatever role and personality the client's needs required. An actor by training, Takashi had already played boyfriends, businessmen, friends and fathers, and even a groom at several fake weddings. So posing as the girl's father didn't seem that complicated at the time. He met with Asako several times to understand what was required of him, and he also studied several Hollywood films to prepare for his role. My requests were very simple, Asako told the BBC. First, I wanted him to say how sorry he was that he couldn't be in Megumi's life until then. Secondly, I wanted him to listen to whatever she wanted to tell him. Asako then told her daughter that her father had remarried and now had another family, but that he had recently contacted her because he wanted to meet with Megumi. At first, the girl was shocked, but eventually she agreed to meet him, and that's how 10 years ago Mr. Takashi became Yamada, his longest running and most controversial role. It was a very complex emotion that was there, Takashi recalls about his first meeting with Megumi. She asked me why I hadn't come to see her before, and I felt her resentment. The actor started seeing Asako and her daughter 2 times a month. He joined them on outings, trips to the cinema and birthday parties, and as the mother recalls, that it didn't take long for Megumi's behaviour to improve considerably. She was happier, more outgoing and talkative, and she even decided to go back to school. That's when Asako knew that her deception had been worth it. Gradually, she became happier and more confident, Takashi confirms. I used to meet her with Asako, the 3 of us together, but one day she said, "I want to go out with my father, just the 2 of us." So I took her out and she held my hand for the first time. Hiring Takashi every month requires Asako to manage her finances carefully. Every time she requires his services, she has to pay around 10,000 yen, which is $90. So she has to cut costs elsewhere in order to afford it. But remembering how unhappy her daughter was before her father came back into her life, she believes it's money well spent. Money has never been the real problem with this bizarre arrangement. It's the emotional attachment and the ethical implication of faking a relationship for over a decade that makes this story so controversial. For example, Mr. Takashi admits that his character Yamada and Megumi have become very close. They act like a family and tell each other "I love you," even though only one of them actually means it. Switching personalities and identities is very important in this job, the actor said. But I'm human, and so of course it would be a lie if I said I don't feel any emotional conflict saying "I love you" to that child. But this is a business. I have to do it, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. That the longer this role takes, the more complicated it will become. For example, if Megumi, who is now a young woman, marries and has children, he will have to take on the role of grandfather as well, and the stakes will get higher and higher. Things are complicated for Asako as well, as she admits that after 10 years of faking a relationship with Yamada, she has developed feelings for him. She even confessed her feelings to him, but had to face the reality that she was in love with someone who wasn't real. Takashi had to be very straightforward and tell the woman that he was only with them because he was being paid for it, and that she had no choice but to accept it. Asako claims that ideally Takashi will retain his role as Yamada indefinitely, that he will be present at her daughter's wedding, then take on the role as grandfather. Even though she understands that many people probably disapprove of her choice to offer Megumi the illusions of having an ideal father, she still stands by her decision. I know some people think it's foolish to pay money to lie to my own daughter and to pretend to have a father, but I was desperate, she said. Anyone can understand that horrible feeling of desperation to see your child so hurt. As for Takashi, he says that if Megumi was to ever find out the truth, he likes to think that she would thank him for being supportive, but he admits that there is a big chance she will be devastated by the revelation. This is one of the big issues of renting a family, the actor said. Thank him for being supportive. He'd like to think she'd thank him for being supportive. He was being paid to do a job, of course, and she is going to be devastated when she realises that none of it was out of true love. I don't think this woman was desperate for a father for her daughter. I think she was desperate to replace him and in denial for herself. This situation has nothing to do with her daughter and everything to do with her. Who knows what else she might have been paying the fake Yamada for, especially as to why she fell in love with him. The worst part is that she was willing to carry this through to future generations. I mean, I could go on and on about this story, but I want to hear your thoughts about this. What is your opinion about this? Should we now have things like fakeafather.com to raise children so that they will be unaffected by their biological father's absences, so that they can then grow up into adults full of confusion and resentment? Secrets like this never stay secret. The mother can't even keep it a secret herself. She's taken it to the media of all places. So well done to this single mum for damaging her daughter even worse in the long run, instead of just being truthful about her father's absence. Ladies, what do you think about this? Please leave a comment. Okay, the next story is really something. A 62-year-old has given birth and she is a single mother. The 62-year-old woman gave birth to a healthy girl on Wednesday in the Italian capital of Rome. The baby was born through a planned cesarean section without complications. The mother, who is a nurse, had an embryo implanted because she does not have a partner. Apparently, in the metropolitan area, on average, women have their first children after the age of 40 or even older, and have their second child between the ages of 46 to 50. Many say that it has become clear that having children in a complicated context such as Rome requires women to wait longer or just not to have children at all, as National Statistics Institute ISTAT data show. That is sad. Wow, I mean, if you've got to wait until you're 62 to have a baby, I'd say you're better off just not having children at all, and the children are going to be much better off too without having, you know, an elderly parent. Okay, so to be honest, I think that becoming a single mother at 62 years old is just ridiculous, and it sounds like a death wish with all that stress, quite frankly. This lady is going to need a lot of support. Would you become a mother at the age of 62 years old? Why would you do it, or why wouldn't you do it? Leave a comment and let me know. Okay, so my next story comes from Australia, and it's about single parents who are being forced to attend story time and children's activities, or they will lose their benefits. The story, which I am reading from an article in The Guardian, says Rosalind Chaya was so close to the finish line. The mother of two had left a violent relationship a few years ago and was now in the final year of a psychological science degree. and then the phone rang. It was Centrelink. What's really frustrating is if they just left me alone for another year, I was nearly finished with university, she said. I was so excited to get off Centrelink. Chaya is one of the 68,000 parents who have been placed on a new government programme, Parents Next, after receiving a call from Centrelink assessing whether they are at risk of long-term welfare dependency. Since July, these parents, overwhelmingly single women, must meet a fortnightly participation plan negotiated with a caseworker known as their Parents Next provider. If they don't, their parenting payment, which is $384.25 for a single person, can be suspended or terminated. Parents say they have been forced by their providers to attend activities such as story time, swimming lessons or playgroup, or are told to sign up to education courses at their own expense, even if they already hold qualifications.